Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, what they call Yahweh, watching Yahweh, Shemakash, the apostles and elders of the millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you. I came out there pushing the word of Yahweh, Yahweh, in sincerity and truth. To Brother Ariala. And this is just a real quick update I want to do, path of the Motb. I want to talk about a little bit about the U.S. dollar, kind of analyze some of the talking points that we see from mainstream media, and then go into a little bit of geopolitics and talk about some of the news that we're seeing, really politics, economics, and its relevance to biblical prophecy. We are getting closer and closer to them wanting to push legislation on regulating CBDCs and utilizing CBDCs in our monetary systems. So with that, a lot more propaganda is being pushed out, okay? And we're inching our way closer and closer and closer to things being digitized, things being put online, and them wanting to do what it speaks about in Revelation 13, Revelation 14, about them wanting to put a mark in your right hand or in your forehead and uploading you into their digital guide, right? Esau's digital play world. That's what they really want. But today, Lord willing, it's informative and it kind of updates you brothers on what's really going on as far as the US dollar and everything like that, because I tell brothers all the time, look, a lot of the stuff that we see is a lot of games being played. It's just a lot of stuff is clickbait. A lot of stuff is because their pages are monetized. So they'll say anything in their title to get you to click and pass it around and share it. So, filtering through all this information as watchmen is a tedious job. So Lord willing, this helps with that. But one of the things that we see is this right here, Isaiah the 47th chapter. It says in the top, it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne." And this virgin daughter of Babylon, as we know, is talking about America. Okay. It says, "O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." And we're starting to see this happening on the world stage. The American dream, come here and have all of your hopes fulfilled. The glimmer of America is starting to darken as the economy gets worse, as society draws into that Sodom and Gomorrah spirit and get more and more into decadence. This place is starting to become tainted in the eyes of the world. And as we look at the monetary system, we're seeing it degrading more rapidly, and that's really the pinnacle of a kingdom, is controlling imports and exports and commerce all around the world, and that's starting to be hurt. So it's not tender and delicate. People are starting to armor up, get weaponry, and nations are being more and more gathered. All right. Verse 2 says, "Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." All right. So America, Babylon the Great, virgin daughter of Babylon, is being exposed in the eyes of the world, live and direct, as being a fraud of what it purports itself to be, which is just rich, lavish, the pinnacle of civilization, the direction that all the world wants to go and needs to go for a better life. That glimmer and that is being exposed. It's being seen, okay? And we're seeing it as Russia, China, the BRICS nations continue on and keep moving against the West with what they're doing. One of the main things being, you see Russia and Ukraine, and the United States is giving armament to the Ukraine, and that is not deterring Russia one bit. Okay. And then on the political standpoint, we're starting to see nations switch sides. One being Turkey, which is a NATO member. It's looking at joining the BRICS side. And then we're starting to see, Saudi Arabia extend themselves. Now, I want to talk about that first because there's some misinformation out there concerning the impact that what Saudi Arabia, what it's doing. And I had one video that goes into that well. I'm gonna start with that, and we can talk about that a little bit more. Okay. So let's see. Let's go here. I got this on 1.25 speed. If it's too fast, y'all let me know in the comment. But yeah, this Clear Value Tax, he does a pretty good job. He's got some good videos economically, but he breaks this down and kind of goes into more points.
Okay. So hopefully some of the overly sensitive and weak-minded people have taken my advice and left. It's for their own good. Now, let me tell you this first, so that there's no misunderstanding. I want to see if you and I are on the same page here. I believe that we have a debt crisis in the United States of America. I believe that the root cause is overspending by the federal governments. We have the Federal Reserve printing money, tons of money, and causing excessive amounts of inflation. I believe that the dollar is
also the issuing of the treasury bonds all across the world. Also, too, is an extension of debt. All right, and like he was saying, when you had QE1, QE2, QE into infinity, they printing out all this money. Then on top of that, you had the jab going out, and they was kicking out stimulus packages everywhere. Then you got them handing off, hundreds of billions of dollars to random nations. We see this overextension of debt, and the scriptures talk about that. We read it all the time. That abayat, all right, the thick clay that's been laden, that has been spread all across the world, that we read in, Habakkuk 2 and 6. All right, and now we're seeing that parable coming up against him, like it's saying, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that has increased that which is not his, how long? And to him that has laden himself with thick clay. That's that debt. When you look this word up in Hebrew, it literally means debt.
Is being devalued, and this is all going to end very badly with a dollar collapse and debt implosion. So is that going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen next year? I would say most likely not, but it's going to happen, and I believe that it'll happen sooner than most people think. You can make the argument that we're on track for that to happen next decade. Okay, maybe you agree with
war can speed that up too.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you agree with the outcome and you disagree with the timeline. I would say fair enough, okay? But the demise of the dollar is inevitable if we continue along this fiscal and monetary path. And what awaits us is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, economic depression, chaos, and a new system emerging. That's what I believe. Now, with that being said, how do the recent events tie into this? The recent event being Saudi Arabia not renewing their 50-year agreements with the USA to sell their oil exclusively in USD. Will the collapse of this agreement deal a death blow to the US dollar? Will it accelerate the process of de-dollarization and the demise of the US dollar? The answer is no, it will not. I'm afraid that you have been another victim of fake news. And don't be ashamed. Do not be ashamed. And don't get defensive. Listen, I just want to say, this is not your fault. This is not your fault that you were tricked. You're a victim. Now, I want you to listen with your ears, your brain. Please absorb the truth. And again, this is not your fault, okay? There never was a 50-year agreement that Saudi Arabia had to price their oil exclusively in US dollars. So let me ask you a question. How can you renew an agreement that never existed? So if you think I'm wrong, if you're in denial still, then what is your argument? I will tell you how to prove me wrong. Show me the signed agreements, and you can't because it never existed. Now, the funny thing is, all these idiot YouTubers and fake news outlets are saying that the agreement was signed on June 8th, 1974. And they try to bluff with that. The only problem is there's going to be people like me that call the bluff and actually check it out. I read what was signed on June 8th, 1974 between the United States of America and Saudi Arabia. It was the US-Saudi Joint Commission on Economic Cooperation established June 8th, 1974. It was signed by US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and Prince Fahd of Saudi Arabia. And this never had anything to do about Saudi Arabia pricing their oil in US dollars. So this agreement was about something else, totally different. Saudi Arabia was the largest oil exporter at the time by far, and their country's population was too small to absorb all that oil money that they had coming into their economy. So Saudi Arabia needed to do something with all those dollars that they were receiving. This
nigga mad than a hoe.
agreement was about recycling those US dollars back into the US economy. That would provide better diplomatic relations for both countries, and closer ties were so important back then because we needed oil, the USA, and they needed protection and a way to spend those dollars. Okay, so here's the thing. You can spend your time and your energy reading this 52-page PDF file for yourself and, first of all, finding it, or you can trust stupid financial YouTubers or fake news outlets. And I'm afraid that the majority of people just trusted stupid financial YouTubers and fake news outlets. So again, please show me the signed agreements. Like, this is your big opportunity to prove me wrong and be the hero, but you can't because it never happens. There never was an agreement. Sorry. And listen, I'm already a few steps ahead of the people that are still stuck in denial. The next argument, well, if you're still stuck in denial, your next argument should be, well, okay, nothing was formally written. There was no like formal agreements. It was more of a handshake, okay? If that's going to be your argument, then I'll tell you this. I'll say, why did Saudi Arabia continue to sell their oil in currencies other than US dollars after June 8th, 1974, like the sterling, British pounds? You know, what's your rebuttal to that? You can't show me signed agreements. They were selling oil in currencies other than USD after June 8th, 1974. So checkmates, you lose. Your argument is bogus.
All right, so now that we understand that, you know, he's going to transition more into, you know, what's really going on and the debt and the way that they've spread dollars about and the sanctioning and people moving outside of using dollars to transact is really the main issue. Not really that, oh, you know, the dollar is it's a petrodollar, you know. So the point about it is that the US dollar became the major currency in trade, and it got that strong and that powerful that quickly to where everybody wanted to hold dollars because of the value, because you're winning. You know, and so that's what we see. All right. So he's going to continue.
Again, please don't be defensive. You are a victim of fake news. This is not your fault for believing that. Okay, so this makes me want to ask you a sincere question. I'm being dead serious. I'm asking you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, who gave you this fake news? Like, I want to know in the comments down below so that I can expose them for wasting your time and for wasting mine. I am here to battle fake news and spread financial education. And I don't like how people are taking advantage of you like this. So you tell me who did it, like who done did it. Also, I'll tell you this. If you want to take a walk down memory lane, I looked at the archives of the New York Times. You have to remember that everyone is saying that this agreement was signed on June 8th, 1974. So I pulled up the newspapers from around that time. So if you didn't know, everything has been digitized. And here it is, June 9th, 1974. Milestone Pact is signed by the US and Saudi Arabia. You know, you can read it for yourself. The archive is free. It gives you a summary in layman's terms, and there's nothing about pricing Saudi Arabia's oil in US dollars. So listen, I'm going to close with this, and this is very important, at least to me. Again, I believe that the US dollar is being devalued, and maybe you want to see the demise of the US dollar because you're frustrated with the system. You and I, we need to work very hard to make a living, right? We need to work very hard to make a dollar. But the Federal Reserve, they can just print trillions of dollars, and that money, the vast majority of it goes to the elite class, the uber wealthy, and you and I, we get stuck with the crumbs if we're lucky. And it makes all our hard work and our toiling just seem meaningless and unfair. Am I right? If you're frustrated with the system, I understand, and I'm there with you. I'm 100% there with you. However, we cannot buy into the fake news and ignorance. So I'm here to save you from the lies and give you the truth. So listen, I just want to say that I'm on your side, and I want to give you the news just honestly and just very straightforward. Like, I don't understand why people have to deliver fake news or just, I don't know if it's intent.
Boom. So you're going to have more of that. And so we just got to be mindful of what we click. All of us, we're all watchmen. We all, you know, are consuming pretty much the same things. Even some of the top people that we love, this is a business for them. We have to remember that all of this is a business for profit for these people. They ain't doing it for free. We're the only ones out here that's really doing this for free. The love of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? So we have to be mindful of that. But with all that being said, what is still happening? We still have systems being set up to move to move away from uh, dollar hegemony, okay, dollar dominance in a certain type of way. But the elites that work on both sides, both the West and the East, is what I keep reminding people. They're all moving towards the same thing. Okay, they're all moving towards the same thing. When we look at this thing, this is very, very crafty. And we talk about that all the time. How they're crafty, man. All right, so this is on ledgerinsights.com. Enbridge cross-border CBDCs has 23 central banks, IMF, as observers. Now, this was written back in October 31st, 2023, which I did a lesson on this. But still, it says today, Enbridge, the cross-border central bank digital currency project, published a document showing 23 central banks are observing the initiative, as well as the IMF and the World Bank. Enbridge plans to launch a minimum viable project in the middle of the year, all right, of next year, and they're moving forward with that. We've seen that. We've seen that. Okay. Who else is doing the same thing with Enbridge? Russia to start using CBDC for cross-border payments in 2025. This is written June 11th, 2024. Right? China has multiple CBDC projects. There's the digital yuan, the domestic CBDC that has been used for a few international payments. Plus, there's also Enbridge, the cross-border CBDC initiative, where China is the software architect. All right, so we see the IMF, the World Bank, supposedly somebody that's against, the East, the Russia and everything. They're all using the same platform. They're all doing the same thing, man. They're all leading you to this to this chip. They're just pushing it. All right, it's both sides are leading towards this. They're just coming from different directions. It's two sides of the same coin. Okay, I hope that's making sense. Okay. So we see this supposed fight, but there is no fight when it comes to the path to the Motb. Both sides want to take you there. It's spiritual, and both sides gonna have to take it down, right? Sirach 10:8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right, and that's why we see clashes with people, tumults of the people, because there's an evil rulership. Evil rulership, okay? Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And so, although it seems like there's these opposing sides economically, but actually they're bridging towards the same thing. But the Most High is sending a spirit out there to where people are just going to fight, like it talks about in Daniel, that iron being mixed with that miry clay. People are not clinging one to another. So there's going to be fights over who controls the button, so to speak. Who actually has the administration keys and the codes to the system? How is that going to be regulated? And they all fight and kill each other. All right, so check this.
Number of massive stories. Living in a nightmare. How is it possible that in 3 short years we have witnessed such a monumental shift in the global world order that it would leave the Roman Empire shocked and appalled? After all, the Roman Empire took about 200 years to finally collapse. It was a slow burn. This week, we saw a number of massive stories that were once again ignored by the mainstream media, from the BRICS nations shaking up the financial system to major geopolitical movements involving Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia. Putin calling for peace, and NATO crapping all over it, saying, no, we don't want your peace. Take your peace and shove it. We want more war.
So this is not a peace proposal.
To Biden, shaking hands with Zelensky, agreeing to fund Ukraine for another 10 years. 10 more years, billions of dollars, while America crumbles. Yes, we're going to send billions to the most corrupt government in Europe.
I think Zelensky is maybe the greatest salesman of any politician that's ever lived. Every time he comes to our country, he walks away with $60 billion.
The winds of change are blowing strong right now, so buckle up because we're going to dive deep into all of this tonight. So let's start with the transformative events recently announced by the BRICS nations. Now, if you're not familiar with BRICS, it started, as the name suggests, as a loose economic and trade partnership between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And now it's exploded, becoming a powerhouse, creating their very own currency away from the US dollar dominance. And countries are racing right now to join the BRICS coalition and ditch the US dollar. Well, we have two huge BRICS stories this week. First,
so yeah, with that, they'll be able to circumvent sanctions that are put on them from the West. When your bank accounts with the SWIFT or the international settlement systems is being restricted, you can't operate. You can't sell, let's say you sell wheat to this other country, but how you close your business, how you deal with your business is being shut down by a middle party that the United States controls. We're not talking about just a little bit of money being taken away. We're talking about hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, that can be restricted coming in and out of your coffers. That's power, man. That is power. So Babylon the Great, America, not only do they have just a military that can wipe you off the face of the planet, they have the reins on how you can buy and sell in the earth. And they're only trying to make it deeper, right? So that's power. So now you have this so-called competing entity of BRICS, which has all these like nations. And so these nations are able to kind of move with a little bit more sovereignty as they feel, right? So this is a competing force against IMF, World Bank, United States, and their control, okay? So these moves are signals, like it's sending a message, which is, hey, you ain't gonna stop us from doing what we want to do. Okay, so the people are taking sides at a much faster rate now, much faster rate. We are much closer to something serious popping off than what we were 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, this thing is moving. These nations are actually picking sides, saying what they need to say, and we seeing it go down. Okay. 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 21. We'll start at 18. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, and the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. Or for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. All right, so people are going to continue to be decadent. People are going to continue to just live their lives wherever they are on the planet. Okay, not paying attention to what the Spirit of the Lord is setting up, and it's moving much quicker. Now we that watch these videos and we we watch all these. We're in our little echo chamber, watching stuff like Redacted and stuff like that. But the average person ain't watching these type of videos. The average person is not. They watching some BS on Netflix, man. They're not educating themselves and becoming more spiritually aware. It's going to totally catch people as a thief in the night. As a total thief in the night. I was watching I can't remember who sent it or how I saw it. Maybe I saw it on Twitter. Somebody was pranking their mom and they acted like there was an alien invasion. Maybe a brother sent it to the chat. And so he's recording his mom react because he was able to cast this fake video to the TV so it looked like it was real news. And it did like this, this is not a test, emergency. And so the mom started freaking out. But one of the things I remember she did, she was like, I knew I should have prepared, but we didn't prepare. We're not ready. We're not ready. I'm scared. I'm scared. Then that's how it's gonna catch these people, man. Okay, that's how it's gonna catch these people, straight up. And we're watching it speed up. All right. I knew somebody would put it in the comments. The water. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child. And they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Right? So everybody, as they keep going and going and going, these type of tumults, these type of things are being prepared. Okay. The skirt's being lifted up. They're moving towards this Motb. Both sides, the BRICS nations and the IMF, they're all moving towards digitizing this thing fully and being able to track and trace all of your transactions fully and control them. Because that's what you'll be able to do. It's programmable money. Programmable money. You can add, update, switch it how you want to. That's what they want. And they want it on your person at all times. They want total control.
BRICS announced a new payment system that directly challenges the dominance of the US dollar in international transactions. No more SWIFT system. Guys, the currency part of it is one thing, but the infrastructure to settle transactions is now out of US hands. This move marks
now that's hyperbole. Okay, he's exaggerating. Right now, most of the things are still being settled through the SWIFT systems. That is the number one system on the planet Earth of how these nations and large corporations settle payments from nation to nation. All right, so it's a kind of cap, but the competition is rising rapidly.
A significant step away from the dollar-centric global economy that we've been knowing for decades. Even more shocking is the end of a 50-year agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia, which required the export of oil exclusively in US dollars.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to play that video before this one. So you hear this part, you can kind of take it with a grain of salt and know that the information that's out there about this is not concrete. Okay.
Saudi Arabia has officially ended its 50-year petrodollar agreement with the United States, shifting to a multi-currency system.
So on June 9th, 2024, just a few days ago, this agreement officially ended. That's right. Saudi Arabia officially said bye-bye. The Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, has chosen not to renew the partnership with the United States, opting instead to open Saudi oil trade to other countries and other currencies. Hello, China. Hello, Russia. I mean, holy smokes, guys. I mean,
China and Russia have been buying Saudi Arabian oil for a long, long time, especially China. So I don't know why he said that.
Can't understate how big a deal this is.
So having Saudi Arabia, the backbone of the petrodollar, join BRICS, I mean, you couldn't make up a bigger slap in the face. I can guarantee you they are not feeling very good right now in Washington, D.C.
This is a massive blow to the status of the US dollar as the world's only reserve currency, a position it has held for 5 decades. Now, we've been warning for months that this was...
What it just showed is that the Saudis are prepared to just do good business. Whatever business is best for them. They're not worried about their image with the United States anymore. Okay? They're just not. And a lot of these nations are starting to show that. And this is what we were looking for. We were looking for these parts of the scriptures to start coming out. You know, where nations were starting to be more bold. The Iranian strikes on the state of Israel were unprecedented. Normally, they wouldn't have done that. Normally, Israel would have did something to them, and Iran would have just ran around yelling and condemning it. But, you know, nothing would be done. Well, this time, you know, Iran made sure they did strategic strikes on the state of Israel. This is us seeing statements being made by the these smaller nations of, we will take all the smoke. We are prepared for smoke with you. What you want. This is that part of that skirt being lifted up. Okay. So as they digitally start moving towards the MOTB, simultaneously you have the potential for World War III at the same time escalating. Very interesting, right? Joel chapter 3, verse 9 says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And we're starting to see that. Assemble yourselves. That's what they're doing, right? And come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause my mighty ones to come down. O Lord, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So this is this impending Armageddon being happening at the same time. You have the MOTB being pretty much saying, hey, get ready. We're about to switch up this whole financial system. Okay. Death of the dollar, death of the dollar, death of the dollar. When it's just going to flow into something else. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back. Play a little bit more of this and we'll be done.
Was about to happen, with Saudi Arabia now joining China's central bank digital currency project. We are witnessing a seismic shift in the landscape of global trade and
everybody's joining that project, as I showed you. The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, all these other central banks all across the world, big banks, they're all doing that.
global finance. The era of the US dollar as the sole superpower currency is officially over. This is not hyperbole. US dollar dominance,
yes, it
is now over. Liberals can try to spin it any way they want, but you're not stupid. And none of those fawning members of the Biden press corps are going to ask the White House about it. They're too stupid to understand how big a deal this is. Last week, US Congress...
And see, it's so funny how they're too stupid. The scriptures talk about Esau being cunning. Okay, just like the serpent in the garden. These people are not too stupid. They're just not letting you in on what they're doing. They're intentionally imploding this thing. You know, if this dude thinks that the people that he's fighting are stupid, that he's putting himself at a disadvantage in the sense of war. Don't think that the Esau is stupid. Now, what he's doing is stupid in the sense of trying to battle God, but cunning in the flesh, that's what he do. Okay, they're mischievous, is what they are.
Congressman Thomas Massey appeared on Tucker Carlson's show with an unfiltered breakdown of what's happening to the US dollar. He didn't hold back.
At some point, they're going to quit using our dollars as reserve currency. I mean, I watched your interview with Putin, and one of the things, whether you hate him or not, one of the things he said that is true is when we sanctioned him, before we sanctioned Russia, 70% of their transactions were in US dollars. And after the sanctions, it's less than 20% of their transactions are in US dollars.
As Massey points out, every time the US government introduces a new economic sanction, the world moves one step closer to de-dollarization. The same thing is happening right now with the US government's microchip battle against China. The same thing is happening with AI and electricity with China. The United States has to basically double our electricity output just to compete with China on the AI and microchip front. President Trump just admitted this.
And the electricity needs are greater than anything we've ever needed before to do AI at the highest level. And China will produce it because they'll do whatever you have to do, whereas we have environmental impact people, and we have a lot of people trying to hold us back. But
oh gosh, man, they think we're dumb. Okay, they think we're dumb, and this is why when you look at something like Enbridge, it's being ran out of China, right? It says Enbridge has planned to launch a minimum of viable project in the middle of next year. It was founded by the central banks of Thailand, Hong Kong, China, and the UAE, and it's part of the Hong Kong BIS Innovation Hub. Then you need to just understand who owns Hong Kong, and then you'll know, what's up. Okay, so the path of the Motb is being financed with Asia, and that's why the scripture says, "Woe unto you, Asia and Babylon." Okay, somebody can put that into the comment boards, Baba Kushai, whoever's still watching. Woe unto you, Asia and Babylon. Somebody put that in the chat. Okay.
Massive amounts of electricity are needed in order to do AI. And we're going to have to generate a whole different level of energy.
We've fallen so far behind China, it's disgusting. Saudi Arabia is also considering full BRICS membership later this year and is expanding its oil trade to include more countries and currencies. This is a direct threat to the petrodollar system that has propped up the U.S. economy for decades. But the BRICS shockwave doesn't stop there. Something seismic happened on June 10th, and
so he's saying that the U.S. is so behind China, and China basically has been rolling out an all-digital Motb system for the last 15 years. I mean, their state is completely surveilled. They already pretty much have programmable money. Everybody uses WeChat. If your social score goes over something, your accounts are blocked. So the systems China already has in place. Everybody else is just going to adopt that system. But you best believe that the central banks around the world were all in on it. All right. The United States has been financing its manufacturing to China for decades. So it only makes sense that the infrastructure, the microchips, and the technology needed in order to move everything into this next stage is going to be built in China. That's what they do over there for cheap. And the U.S. is in on it as well. Don't get it twisted. But they still gonna fight, which is I know that's a weird concept. That's why I keep ingraining it in there, so you don't get confused with this news. Boom. The water you call. Let's see. He put 2 Ezra 16:1. Woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Gird up yourselves with clothes of sack and hair. Bewail your children and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. Impending doom. That's right. Salvation of the elect. Put this. Psalms 36:4. He devises mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. Yeah. So this is, that's what Esau do, man. Esau is deep. He thinks deep to move on the planet. He thinks deep to pollute everybody. He thinks deep to produce death for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay? He wants to map your DNA, get whatever he feels like is science and spirit out of it, and then get rid of you. Okay? That's what he wants to do. He wants, like Elder Yashwamba likes to say, he wants those eyes. Point blank, period.
11th at the BRICS Foreign Ministers meeting. 59 new countries announced plans to join BRICS. I mean, what? 59 new countries? And during the meeting, they agreed to an astonishing $78 billion in bilateral trade deals. Yes, they publicly announced plans to ditch the US dollar also at this meeting for local currencies in cross-border transactions. So they made this announcement. We're done. We're done using the US dollar. This is game over, folks. Russian President Putin laid it out this week.
One of the greatest mistakes of the United States is they're prohibiting from using dollar as in international payments and using it as a tool, and they're simply undermining the trust towards dollar. It's ridiculous. they should have taken care of the dollar and to preserve it and to raise its profile and its standing. They're simply killing it off with their own hands.
Putin knows exactly what he's doing, allowing these developing countries to start moving away from the US dollar, stop being bullied by the United States. Oh boy. President Biden's foolish sanctions against Russia have turned the world against the US dollar. And China knows exactly what's coming. That's why they've been dumping US treasuries like a bad habit.
And we're also sending a really clear signal, which is the dollar's not safe for you.
Right.
It's the reserve currency because it's a safe haven, because it's a stable country. It's the most stable country in the world, and we're not going to weaponize the dollar because that would be shooting ourselves. But suddenly we are.
This BRICS system seeks to eliminate the global dominance of the US dollar, creating a payment system using local currencies that is free from US sanctions and outside political pressure. And now that NATO has rejected Putin's peace agreement to end the war in Ukraine, we are in for a totally different world over the next few years. So guys, that's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to what President...
Yeah, man. So, we see these nations priming themselves. Everybody's announcing that they're moving towards these digital platforms on both sides. So we're getting closer and closer and closer to the Motb. The dollar is being diminished in the eyes of the public, but essentially it's meant to be absorbed into this new system, just like everybody else's currency. In the midst of that, we see everybody primed for war, prepping for war. And on the World War III front, the U.S. being willing to compromise with Putin. That's interesting. And we still have things that are continuing to escalate in Palestine with the state of Israel and Lebanon with Hezbollah. And then we still have the issues with Iran, tired of being the victim of the state of Israel. So with all these things being done, man, we got pressure from above and beneath on us getting to the Motb and World War III. With that all being said, man, I'll say, call halal Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Raka'ah, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to Yakim out there pushing the word of Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, sincerity and truth. Shalom.